the Netflix limited series "When They See Us" tells the true story of the wrongly convicted teenagers who were accused and convicted of a rape of a Central Park jogger that took place in 1989. Michael Kenneth Williams plays Bobby McCray, one of the father of one of those boys, Antron McCray. Now, Michael, you're a native New Yorker. Did you remember following this case closely as it was happening?
Yes, I do remember it. I don't know how closely I followed it. I was living my own version of being an at-risk youth myself in Brooklyn. But I do remember, the tone in my household was something is just not adding up. And I also remember the fear of not wanting to be lumped into that category. I didn't want to be generalized with them. I remember the fear of like, am I going to be next?
And I think you were a few years older at the time. You would have been than the actual Central Park Five
I was
were.
actually 20, 21, 22 when that happened.
Yeah, did that make it even hit even closer to home? Just the idea, there but for the grace of God go I, that sort of thing.
It absolutely brought it closer to home. Again, I was not living my best life. I was very tormented at that point in my life, struggling, and my family, we were just as uninformed about the process of how things work within the system. That could have easily been my mom and me, in that interrogation room. We were just as ignorant. We didn't know what our rights were. I still really don't have a full understanding of what that means. God forbid if that should happen to me, one of my children today.
And it's one thing to empathize with these teenage children who were put in this terrible situation, but you have to play one of their fathers, and one of their fathers who actually has to finds himself having to convince his own son to lie to the police because he feels like that's the only way out of it, to tell them what they want to hear. What was it like putting yourself in that mindset of that father who thought he was doing the right thing for his son and for his family to keep them all safe, but it ended up obviously turning against them?
That was a very painful place to be. I mean, just for any human being, you don't turn your back when people that you love are struggling, whether that's your kid or not. They're going through tough times. That's the time when family should be there. Um, Bobby McCray on paper looks like he made a really bad choice. Like he got going when the going got tough. He got going. That's what he did. That's what happened. However, I chose to dig deeper and find out what drove him away. 'Cause I can't believe that he just said, deuces, too hot for me. I got to speak to his wife and Antron's mom, who just recently passed. She never got to see When They See Us. And she spoke about her husband with such love and admiration and compassion. There wasn't even any room, no need for forgiveness, because she never even went to a place that warranted forgiveness. She went just focused all her energy on bringing her son home. And when everything was done and said, uh, she went to look for her husband, and she knew that he was sick, and she insisted that he come back home. So when that type of when for her to exhibit that kind of love and compassion for him as a human being, what right do I have to play him so stereotypically? So for me, I think when Bobby realized that he was used as a pawn, when he realized that he was the nail in the ceiling of his son's coffin, I think that guilt, that anger, that frustration, that shame drove him away. And I truly believe that he thought that his family would be better off without him.
Mm. And the actual men who were convicted and exonerated, they have been speaking about the film. They were involved in the film. At what point did you meet the real Antron McCray, or how closely did you work with him over the course of creating this character that's so important to his life, his own father?
We had the pleasure of meeting these five men on the table read the first day of work. and that was emotional for me. There was a we read the first part, the first two parts, I think, and we were at the scene where the verdicts were being read, and Jerome, who plays Corey Wise, was erupting as he does in the courtroom. So he was giving such a convincing performance at the table read that I started to get emotional. And I was like, I remember saying to myself, Mike, don't be a punk. Don't cry at the table read. So I turned my head. He was sitting to the left of me. I turned my head to the right to like not look at him. And I catch eyes with the real Corey Wise, who was just waiting for me, like he was as if he was waiting for me to turn around to look at him. And he just sat there with tears streaming down his face, just stoic. And I just took my baseball cap, I put it and I sat back from the table and I did the same thing. I couldn't hold back the tears. Antron, you know, he's not a very vocal person. He's a firm believer. If I can say it in three, then why use five? And this is a very, as you can assume, as you can imagine, it's very painful for him to bring up. So he didn't. We spoke. I can tell right off the back that he would rather not really speak about it, but he gave me what I needed to hear from him. He was very forthcoming as best as he could. It was his mom, that Miss Linda, that I had the pleasure of speaking to her before she passed. It was her. I got most of my goal from her in the way she talked about him with all that love. It was blinding and it was very humbling. So I chose to go with that.
And the way this story is told, you're playing this character at two different sort of time periods with two different actors playing Antron, Khalil Harris, and then Jovan Adepo as an adult. What was it like, developing sort of that relationship on screen with those two actors playing that one character, and also for yourself trying to kind of find that character in both different time periods, what has changed, how he's grown, how he's changed?
Um, Most of my connection and scenes were with Khalil. Um, so the goal for me in regards to my scenes were with him. By the time I'm blanking on the other actor's name, forgive me. We didn't have that much time or that much time together to have that, and the energy, the tension in the scene was Antron had already shut down in regards to his dad. Um, However, with Khalil, there were multiple of things happening. I saw myself in him. Uh, some of the conversations that he and his dad were having in regards to to finding the truth, it resembled conversations of my mom and I, because I'm a single parent. I'm a product of a single parent home, and so yeah, and he just brought so much honesty and so much like strength. That kid Khalil, he was I told him the other day, I said, don't look at it, because I've been acting longer than you, that I may know more than you. It doesn't work like that. It's about connection. It's about finding the truth. Whoever gets to the truth first, you bring your partner in and you share that. That's what this is about for me. So it's not about I'm older, I've been doing this longer. And he brought that with such he just brought it. I really enjoyed working with him and seeing myself in him. It was actually kind of it was crazy, like a surreal type of experience.
And the two of you have one of the most emotional scenes in the series. In the interrogation room where he's trying to convince his son to lie and sort of confess to the crime he didn't commit. What was that scene like to film? Was that one of the most difficult scenes to shoot? And how did you decompress after that?
Oh, please. Well, nothing hard at all. That was just the first day at work. Kid, I can do that. I almost freaked out. That was the first day of the production. I think that was the first scene of the first day of the production. So yeah, little pressure. Again, I couldn't have gotten there without him, without Khalil. and at Ava's tutelage, she's a master at her craft, and for that to be the first thing that she chose to crack the can open with, it said a lot about the rest of the journey. I said, okay, Mike, if this is day one, put your seatbelt on, because you're going down a rabbit hole of emotions, and we did.
And starting with that scene, did that sort of, like, once you had that under your belt, did it feel like you were able to, like, maybe the rest of it comes easy, but you sort of had got the hardest part out of the way in a way?
No, not at all. In fact, it was the opposite. It's the story content, and what it brought up for me in my personal life. This journey woke up a lot of my trauma that I chose to forget, and trauma that I didn't even knew that I had. And so no, it didn't get easier. In fact, it got harder, because I had to look at things that I didn't want to look at in my past, and feel things I didn't want to feel from my past, that I'm still I'm working through. So no, it didn't get easier.
And Ava DuVernay seems to have such care with her actors, and especially with subject matter like this. I heard she had, like, crisis counselors even on set to talk to the actors and crew if they needed it. Was that something that you felt like you needed to take advantage of?
I probably still need a counselor therapy. um, uh, no, I didn't. I didn't use the grief counseling, and that's part of the sickness from my community. We, us as men of color, we're not allowed to go to therapy or talk about our feelings. Just stuff it and move on, and that almost died doing that crap. So no, I still, I probably should have explored that, and see what that looks like for my own personal reasons. However, I did pour into Ava. There would be scenes where before we would shoot real action, I'd be like, hey, come and talk to you for a minute. When I was 13 years old, and I remember, and and she'd be like, okay, Mike, you okay? I'm like, yeah, man, it's just speaking of all these memories, man. She would just hug me until it went away, and then we go back to the set, and we would hit it. And I'm almost certain that I'm not the only one that was doing that with her. And she took it all in. She wore it like a champion, like a warrior, man. And she just used it and put it right back into the filming. Genius, in my opinion.
As emotional as something like this is to film, have you had a chance to watch the whole thing since it was completed, and what was that? How are those emotions? How did they compare?
I was hoping you didn't ask me this question. Please don't tell anybody, but I have not finished watching yet, and I'm trying to get somebody to watch it with me. It's the last two episodes. And particularly Corey and the trauma, the abuse that he went through. Again, it just wakes up a lot of old memories. I haven't gotten to yet, but I'm going to. I have to. For my peace of mind, I need to finish the journey.
Yeah, I ended up seeing it all in one day. I went to a screening of it. Where
one day, one
yeah,
sitting?
Not one sitting. There was first two episodes, then a lunch break, and then the last two episodes, and it was a really emotionally intense experience. I've seen a lot of people on, like, the day it came out. I've seen, like, the whole thing, and they were raving about it. Like, you need more time to process the emotions of it. A lot of people do and will. How do you feel like the ideal way to sort of take this story in and try and process it?
Well, for me, it's about action. This process, this journey has changed me forever. And for me, it's about going back to my community and being a part of the team that wants to make sure that this stops. Because I can't say that it never happens again, because it's still happening. right now someone is rotting away in prison because they don't have money for a lawyer, and and they're innocent of what they're being convicted for. So I would hope that this will start action. That you come people that watch this, they'll be moved to action, and this when they see us has woke up a lot of anger, a lot of emotion, and the worst thing that we can do with those emotions as a community is to turn it into hate. It has to be a narrative about community and unity, and not about us against them. It can't be the police, the department against the community, and black against white, or white cops against the black community. They don't work. And in my opinion, if we allow ourselves to go there, we do a terrible disservice to what these men have went through and what they survived.
And one of the positive things that's coming out of to the series, just since it premiered, you have these people who were involved in perpetrating this miscarriage of justice against these boys, these children who had sort of their childhoods taken away from them at that moment. And now, like, Linda Fairstein had, like, her publisher dropped her afterwards. And do you have are you encouraged that the people involved in these sorts of things will feel consequences, or people who are currently like prosecutors, police officers, will sort of feel a greater sense of empathy or a greater sense of responsibility going forward?
Definitely the latter part of your statement, your question. I would definitely, well, I can say, at least in New York, with the meetings that I've been having with law enforcement and prosecutors and the district attorney of Brooklyn, I'm that guy now. I'm in my community, trying to make a difference. I see change. I see care. I see that people really want to make sure this never happens, at least in my city again. However, in regards to Ms. Feinstein and all of those people that on the other side of this story, taking away their things, that's neither here or there for me, because no amount of money can give these 5 men back what was stolen from them. However, I would really love to see her and those team of officers just start with a simple, "I apologize for what you went through." You don't even have to say, "I'm sorry for what I did." I would just, can we at least start with, "I apologize for I'm just sorry for what you had to endure." Can we start there, and then we'll see where it goes. But until that happens, take her job away, take her money away, because none of that is going to give these men back what was stolen from them. But it would be nice to hear a simple "I'm sorry."
Well, I want to congratulate you on the series, and thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me about it.
Last time we spoke was for when the night of, correct? Was it?
I think you might have spoken to one of my colleagues for the night of, but you and I talked about Bessie a few years ago.
It was Bessie. No, it was Bessie, because I know why I remember it, because the shirt that I wore, it was a gift from my sister Rosario Dawson, and I wore it for you. I remember that day. Yeah, it was Bessie.
Yeah. And it's good luck, because every time you talk to us, you get an Emmy nomination, and I got my fingers crossed.
Thank you. Inshallah.
And thank you again so much. And everyone watching this, make your predictions at goldderby.com. Click like and subscribe. Watch more of our interviews. And one more time, just thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy your day.